Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin, or struggle to feel like you even have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there's so much more in there? You just have no clue how to get it out. Or maybe you want to know the Bible better, and you're looking for any resource to help. Then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible podcast. I'm Veronica.
I'm Erika.
And we're sisters. I skipped a part, did you notice? We're sisters who love to study the Bible and help others understand it better. When it comes to our own study of Scripture, we have found that in bringing back the context of Scripture, it adds to our understanding. It actually adds color to the black and white pages of the text.
So my brain was a million miles away while you were doing the intro.
Well, and I normally say, and we're sisters. And then we say our names, and I skipped that. Oh. I got excited to say my name.
Do you need to say
Don't
it again?
know why.
That's hilarious.
I know.
Veronica, do you need your name spoken more?
I do. Can you say it
funny.
again?
Veronica.
Oh,
that's
right.
funny.
That's hilarious. But we're here today. I'm just going to jump us right back in.
Yep.
Last week, Erika shared her first retreat talk.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't think of, it's got to have
Talk
some kind of
works.
name. Okay.
Message.
Sure. I like that better. Erika's first retreat message that she gave in November at Blaine Christian Church. And she is back again today with us.
Hello.
Welcome. To share her second message. Last week, you took us through the Valley of the Shadow of Death in Psalm 23.
Right.
Which was just fascinating. And so today you're taking us to another familiar passage.
Right.
Micah 6. And Erika still has this teeny tiny little Bible.
Veronica needs reading glasses.
It's like 8-point font though, people.
It is. I'm getting it's starting to get small for me.
Yes.
But my older sister
is going to read Micah 6, 1-8.
Yes, please.
Okay. Listen to what the Lord says. Stand up. Plead your case before the mountains. Let the hills hear what you have to say. Hear, O mountains, the Lord's accusation. Listen, you everlasting foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a case against his people. He is lodging a charge against Israel. My people, what have I done to you? How have I burdened you? Answer me. I brought you up out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. I sent Moses to lead you, also Aaron and Miriam. My people, remember what Balak, king of Moab, counseled, and what Balaam, son of Beor, answered. Remember your journey from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know the righteous acts of the Lord. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
Thank you. Just real quick, to set the scene, basically, Micah sets up like a courtroom.
Okay.
And God is the prosecutor, and Israel is the defendant.
Okay.
And God puts them on the stand. And he says, okay, you need to tell me what I've done to make you so unfaithful. What did I do that hurt you? And then he lists numerous things he's done for them, protected them, blessed them, fed them, led them, gave them good leaders. Like, I have done all of this for you, Israel. So what have I done that's caused you to be unfaithful? In verses 6-7, Veronica, Israel responds.
Okay.
And basically their response, you need to picture, that moment when you ask your kid to go clean their room and they react as if you have just stolen a year from them. It is totally overblown, totally ridiculous. Israel basically is like, oh, God, you're so difficult. We can't do anything to please you. What if I spent every hour on my knees? Would that make you happy until my knees are aching and my back is thrown out? What if I ignored my children and didn't feed them dinner, God, and so they died because I was at church all the time? They're acting like God is this tyrant,
right?
Who's completely out of touch with reality, hard to please. We can't do anything to satisfy you, Lord. You're just way too difficult. Micah responds in Micah 6:8 with a simple, stinging rebuke, and he just cuts it right off. You know, oh man, what God has required of you. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. And as I jumped into those three things, Veronica, I was amazed at what I found. So we're going to quickly walk through those three things.
Okay.
What does it mean to do justly? What does it mean to love mercy? And what does it mean to walk humbly with your God? First of all, justly. This is actually the Hebrew word mishpat. And it means more than just punishing the guilty and exonerating the innocent. Now, yes, that is an important part of justice.
Okay.
There are laws and they need to be followed. And if someone breaks the law, they should be dealt with. It is good to deal with the murderers. It is good to deal with thieves. Criminals need justice,
Right.
and need to be dealt with. But justice is not just when a cop takes a criminal to jail and they stand before the judge. Justice in God's economy also comes to pass when individuals in the community act justly. When we do what God says to do, when we obey, when we treat our neighbor as we would want to be treated, that's justice. So you get justice when a community of people act justly. For instance, I read this book, Whatever Happened to Justice by Richard Mayberry. Whatever Happened to Justice.
And is this your endorsement for that book?
Oh, it's a phenomenal book. Yes. I'm going to make my kids read it. It is such a good book. And he goes through, because part of you understand, like he writes very well.
Right.
You've read a couple of his books or
Right.
books. He's easy to read.
Right.
And you understand what he's saying. And so he talks about how America's law, our founding fathers founded our country on common law. Today we have political law. Totally screws things up. Common law is different. Common law came about hundreds of years ago, and it boiled down to two basic principles. Do everything you've agreed to do, and do not encroach on other people and their property. And then, in the book, he then takes you through, if you followed these two principles, here's so many issues today and how they would be dealt with. And it was amazing how simple some things can be. But those are the two principles. Do not encroach on people or their property, and do all you've agreed to do. So for instance, you get a job.
Right.
You agree to come in at a certain time and do a certain task for so long.
Right.
You do it. You do what
Go
you've
figure.
agreed to do. Right. You know, you're the boss and you've agreed to pay your employees a certain amount. You pay them. You do what you've agreed to do. Or you have a tree in your yard, and let's say a branch is hanging over your neighbor's shed. You don't encroach on other people and their properties, so you deal with the tree. You know, you're playing incredibly loud music, and it bothers your neighbor. You turn down your music. You do what you've agreed to do, and you do not encroach on other people and their property. We're trying to teach this to our own kids. Because sometimes, I mean, they're kids. They'll say yes to a sibling. Yes, I'll play a game with you later.
Yes, I'll cut you apple slices.
Yeah.
That literally just happened right before we were recording.
That did just happen. Where you say yes and then you don't do it. You know, we're teaching our kids, no. You let your yes be yes.
Right.
If you've agreed to do it, you follow through. Or let's say somebody's building a Lego tower or creating a work of art. You don't destroy it.
Right.
You respect other people's property.
Right.
You know, so imagine, Veronica, a society where people kept their word.
Right.
You know, you go to the grocery store, you buy something, you agree to pay the bill, you pay the bill.
Right.
You don't steal.
Right.
And you don't shirk. If you don't have the money, you don't buy it, because then
Right.
you can't pay the bill. Imagine a society of people who did everything they agreed to do. Imagine politicians, Veronica, who did everything they agreed to do. I mean, it would be ridiculous because they agreed to do everything they can.
Right.
But, you know, that would create a just society.
Right.
If people
because
followed those
I
two
would just be
things.
able to trust people. I would have an expectation. There would be a
Right.
standard we're all agreeing to.
Right. You know, justice is not this huge word that only leaders can bring about. Justice can occur when I jump into my community and I act justly. When in my small part of the world, do what I've agreed to do and do not encroach on other people. It's like, I mean, in some of this, I think this came from Jesus' golden rule.
Right.
Treat others as you would have them treat you.
Right.
If you live that way, you will act justly.
Right.
Essentially, you know, it's not just getting on social media and arguing
Right.
all day with people. And I have had to control my social media because I was doing that. Or getting together after church and talking in our small groups how crazy the world is,
Right.
which I do that too. I know the world is going crazy, but can I bring justice by acting justly in my small corner of the world with everybody I interact with? Can I do everything I've agreed to do and not encroach on other people? Do justly. And yes, you won't do it perfectly. I fail.
Right.
I'm sure I'm not the only one. So you know what? You apologize.
Right. But in a way, that's part of justice.
Right.
Making it, when you've
Yes.
done something wrong,
Yes.
make it right.
Yes.
I think that's part of it.
It is.
We know you're going to mess up.
Yes.
So make it right.
Right. Make it right.
So that's still doing justly.
Yes. That's very true. It is. You know, if you need to, okay, I said I was going to do this and I didn't, so now I'm going to fix it somehow.
I'm going to compensate you.
Compensate, yes. And you get up and you try again. It's very simple. Do justly. So you're not looking out for number one.
Right.
You are looking out for other people. And that's hard
Yeah.
in this world.
Yeah.
But then the question can be asked, Veronica, what if my community doesn't do justly to me?
I know. Then am I allowed to not do justly
Right.
back?
Right.
How do I respond? How do I
Right.
respond when the unjust
Happens to me.
happens to me?
When one of my friends
Right.
said they'd do something and then doesn't. You know, my spouse forgot to pick the kids up at the soccer game. My friend said she'd help me with the
Just
baby
picturing
shower.
Erika's kids left at the soccer
Yeah.
would not be good.
No, my kids would not handle it well.
No.
You know, or your friend promises to help you plan a baby shower.
Right.
Or a coworker.
Or I'm going to bring this over.
Right.
You can have my.
Yeah, I'll make you dinner.
Right.
I'll take your kids. Whatever.
Right.
A coworker says they'll help you plan a presentation and then they forget.
Right.
You know, what do you do when you're not treated justly?
Or someone encroaches on your property.
Yes.
The tree branches on your shed.
Yes.
What do you do then?
What do you do? Well, Veronica, that's where the second one comes in. Love mercy.
Okay.
Now, actually, in the Hebrew, it's not mercy.
Yay!
You know what word it is.
It's Hesed.
It is Chesed. And we actually have a video on this.
We actually have two now.
You did.
We have a 30-minute one for Erika going way more in depth into this word. And then I did I think it's less than 4 minutes, one for our tweens that we just put out here recently with the idea of, real quick, we do one for tweens so they can watch it, get a basic understanding. And then you, the parent, you, the teacher, the Sunday school teacher, has a more in-depth one so you can have a fuller picture of what's going on. So maybe then you can have a discussion, you can ask questions, you can answer their questions.
Right.
But the idea is so those two videos go hand in hand. So your tween watches one, you watch the other, and together you've both learned.
Right. It's a great resource.
Yes.
Veronica's a great
On
teacher.
YouTube.
For kids especially. But Chesed, just for those of you who haven't watched the videos yet.
Give us a 30-second
Right.
snippet of your 30-minute video.
It's hard because it has no English equivalent.
Correct.
So here's other ways you could translate it. Love faithfulness, love grace, love goodness, love kindness, love loyalty, love constant love, show constant love being kind to others. Like all of that and more is wrapped up in
And that's how you'll
chesed.
often see it translated, because
Yes.
you'll see unfailing love.
Yes.
Loving kindness.
Steadfast.
Covenantal love. Steadfast.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So it's a hard word because number one, it's covenantal. So it assumes community.
Right.
And number two, it means you're going above and beyond what is required of you. It's action based. You see it in the book of Ruth. If
Love
you
is a
haven't,
verb.
Love is a verb. Yes, that's a good song because it's so true. You see it in Ruth towards Naomi and Boaz towards Ruth.
Oh, yeah. So they could go back and listen
to our Ruth.
Mm-hmm. You did a good job with that one,
Right.
showing
Chesed.
actions of Hesed.
Right. You know, so this would look like, so there are many aspects,
Yes.
but one aspect of chesed would look like if you're in line at the grocery store and the person behind you has more things in their cart, so you let them go ahead of you.
Oh, I don't often do it with them more in their cart.
I don't probably either. I probably do it with less.
I
I
do
will
it with
often
less.
let people with less. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we'll change it. People with less things
Or
in their
the
cart.
mom who has more in her cart and her kids are having a meltdown.
Yes. And now, society doesn't require it of you.
Right.
Neither does the Bible.
Right.
So you're not breaking a law.
Right.
Nor are you encroaching on someone's property, nor are you, I said I would do it and now I won't. There's no justice here that's being broken.
Right.
It is going above and beyond what you have to do.
Putting others' needs above my own.
Yes, that's chesed.
Okay.
One aspect of chesed. Another aspect, though, is forgiveness.
Ugh.
So that when that person, that friend, that spouse, that child lets you down, you respond with forgiveness, with chesed. And you forgive them the way you would want to be forgiven. It's done and gone. Yes, it may have made my life crazy and I had to run and drop everything to go pick up my child at the soccer field.
After your husband left him there?
After my husband left you there. No, that hasn't happened
I
to
know.
me. My husband would remember actually probably before I would.
Yes, he would.
But
Just going to say
he would. But I'm not going to yell at you the moment you walk in the door
Right.
and let you have it.
Or I asked you to go to the store and pick something up.
And you picked up the wrong thing. I'm
Right.
not going to make you feel like an idiot.
Right.
Because you picked up the wrong thing.
Right.
This is chesed. And as I was working this through forgiveness, I thought sometimes forgiveness is just me having to just forgive and let it go.
Yes.
But sometimes in relationship, we still need to talk it out.
Something's been broken.
Something's been broken and it needs to be fixed.
Yep.
And often, with a spouse, I forgive you, but we still need to talk about this.
Right. Right. I threw out a really unkind thing against you and I need to go fix it.
Right.
I was attacking your character. I was fighting dirty, attacking your character.
Or flipping it, your spouse attacked your character.
Right.
And you're now forgiving them.
Right.
But hey, can we talk about this so
Right.
it doesn't keep happening? So even with forgiveness, there are still times when you need to go to the other person and have a hard conversation. But how do you know when you're supposed to go or not? And as I was praying about this, Veronica, I was reminded of over my years of adulting, I have had a couple times in my life where people have come and talked to me and said, okay, Erika, this hurt. And one did it a couple days after it hurt. One did like 4 years later. But what I remember about it was both of these people had forgiven me already. And so they came to me not to say you're a jerk, but it was be careful so you don't hurt someone else.
Right.
And I think what I would tell people, if you're wondering if you need to go talk to somebody, I would say first, forgive them.
Right.
Regardless of how that person responds, regardless of whether they agree with you, acknowledge the hurt, whether they even are willing to say, oh yeah, that was really rotten of me, I'm so sorry. You just forgive them.
Right. You need to start from that standpoint.
You start from that standpoint, yes. And then once you've completely forgiven them, and that may take a while.
Right.
It may not be an immediate, okay, now I can go. It may take a couple days, weeks, maybe months. Once you've forgiven them completely, you're not hanging it over their head.
Right.
I'll forgive you only if, no, it's forgiven no matter what. Then you are in a place to go, okay, Lord, do I still need to talk to them?
Right.
And maybe you still do,
Right.
but maybe you go, oh, it's forgiven, it's done, I don't need to.
Right.
So that's where I would start first of all.
With prayer.
With prayer
With
and
prayer
forgiveness.
to forgive.
And then you're ready to go, okay, do I need to still talk to them? But what about the situation with the person you have been so hurt by and you are so angry at? It's been years.
Right.
And you don't even remember what it's like liking that person because you have built up such a wall in your heart against them. What do you do with that person with forgiveness?
Then you don't have to.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. It's never mind. You get to walk away.
If only it were like that.
As I was praying through this, what I came to was you take a step.
Yeah.
You take one step in that person's direction. And maybe it means the next time you see them, you smile.
Right.
Or you send them a text or write them a letter. Or maybe you're so far past that you can't even smile at them.
Right.
Then you start your first step with prayer.
Yep.
Like, Lord, help me smile at this woman.
Yep.
And I pray you bless her.
Right.
I don't want you to, Lord. I'm going to be honest with you. But I pray you bless her. Can you take a step? You know, you're not fixing it in one day.
Right.
You're not changing your own heart in one day. But you're taking a step.
Right.
That's all.
Sometimes praying for that person, for God's blessing on that person, is really hard. You know, or that spouse, if you have a husband and wife who have continually drifted and continued to, and maybe it is more one than the other.
Right.
And maybe one has incredibly hurt,
right.
You know, but to go, can you pray for that person? Can you pray for peace, for joy, for God's blessing on that person?
Right.
And start there. Because that's sometimes, I'd rather smile than pray for you.
Right. That's true. Because God may answer.
You know, or if it is a family member that you're dealing with and it's been hurt after hurt, years of hurt after hurt.
Right.
Saying a kind word.
Yes.
You know, a compliment.
Yes. Yep.
That's a nice sweater. Something simple. Just saying without a tone, without attitude, of just being able to be kind.
Speaking well of that person to someone else.
Right.
I really like how she did that.
Right.
Those
are all teeny tiny steps.
Right.
And none of those are going to fix the problem overnight.
No.
This is not a magical potion spell that's going to make it better, but it's a step of not do justly, love mercy. It's a step of showing that loving mercy.
Right.
That hesed. And so with that then, are you ready to go to walk humbly with our God?
Well, there's another aspect of love, chesed, when you give people the benefit of the doubt.
Tip the scales.
Also when you tip the scales, yes. You know, you see someone at the grocery store and they don't smile. Well, you don't automatically assume they're mad. You just go, oh, maybe the person's mind was somewhere else. You know, when I'm at the grocery store, I'm in my own world. I will be honest, because I finally don't have 5 little blessings talking to me. So I'm thinking through my list. I'm thinking through something else. And I have walked by people, Veronica, not even seeing them. And I didn't mean it. Like I just was in my own world.
So those of you in Ludington,
if I am rude to you, I am so sorry.
Erika's enjoying peace and quiet.
Yes.
And thinking of what chocolate she's going to buy.
Exactly. You know, so give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't know, Veronica, if you want to share the tipping of the scales.
Well, I was going to say we do have like a 5-minute podcast.
Oh, we did that. Yes.
We did tipping the scales of when it's not a sin, when it's just something like that of what's your first response?
Right.
Do you think negatively of that person who didn't smile back at you at the grocery store, didn't wave?
Right.
Or do you give them a benefit of the doubt of, oh, well, she's thinking through her grocery list or planning dinner or...
And we're not talking about sin.
Right.
when someone does something
Don't make excuses
wrong.
for sin.
Right. What we're talking about is those little... They cut me off in line at the grocery store. They cut me off in traffic. Oh, coworker walked down the hall.
Minor little inconveniences.
Right. Yes. You know, so those are all ways to love chesed. So when it comes to yourself, Veronica, your standard for yourself is to do justly. Okay. I will keep my word. I will respect other people's property and person.
Right.
But when it comes to other people, I will love chesed.
Right.
And I will not require the same standard of them as I require of myself.
Okay.
And then that brings us to the third one.
Walk humbly with your God.
Right. And this, I had to laugh.
Which sounds easy.
No, doesn't it though? Because as you're doing justly and as you're loving chesed and forgiving the world for all of its terrible sins, it is easy to get proud.
Yep.
And to sit there and say, I have got this all together. I should start a podcast.
I figured it out.
I have figured it out. And before you know, you're on your way to the bottom before you even know you've left the height of the mountains.
Yep.
And pride comes in. And so walk humbly, I think, is a great way to end this. But what does it mean to walk humbly? Well, I'm going to give you the word picture the rabbis use.
Okay.
Because that to me has stuck with me.
We like the word pictures the rabbis use.
So the word picture is when you walk humbly with your God, it's like you're walking in a funeral procession or a bridal procession.
Okay.
Now, in a funeral procession, the casket and the bearers would be in front, and then everybody else would be walking behind them. So how are you dressed? You're dressed appropriately. You know, your actions are appropriate for the occasion. You're not telling jokes, and you're very aware who's the center of attention. The dead guy or girl, the one in the casket. And so you're not trying to bring attention to yourself. In a bridal procession, you know, now this, you're having fun, you're laughing, you're dancing, you're singing, it's great. And you're walking behind the bride and groom.
Right.
Who's to be the center of attention?
Oh, it better be the bride and groom.
It better be. Right. That's where every eye is focused. And so your actions, although fun and maybe loud, are still appropriate to not take attention away from them.
Right.
And the rabbi said, you are walking behind God. And when you walk humbly with your God, you are supposed to remember that your every action, your every thought, the way you dress, the way you smile, the way you think, everything is to bring your God attention and glory. So this actually then gives us the reasons for the first two. Why do we act justly? Because our God is a God of justice. Why do we keep our word? Because our God keeps his word. Why do we not encroach on other people? Well, God has the right to, but he doesn't encroach on us. We have freedom.
Right.
We get to choose and decide things. You know, so when you do justly, you can point to God and put the attention back on him. Why do you love chesed? Why do you forgive when you've been hurt?
Right.
Because my God forgives me.
Right.
Why do I give people the benefit of the doubt? Because my God sees my heart and how bad it is and still chooses to love me and think well of me.
Right.
You know, so when you're doing justly and loving mercy, you need to be reminded, I am doing this to bring attention and honor to my God. I am walking behind him. So every moment of every day, I am not to be the center of attention. He is. I am not to be the one you're focused on. He is. It's not my name. It's not my kingdom. It's not my reputation.
Right.
It is his. Right.
Right.
And I love that picture of walking behind him.
Right. Well, I feel like it's kind of that, it's like the spotlight's coming to me, but I'm reflecting it back to him.
Yes.
You know, am I stopping that light from shining out?
Am I trying to keep it?
Right.
Oh, look at me. Look at me.
Right.
Right. No.
Because if you go, okay, everything I do needs to reflect back to God.
Oh, I don't do that very well.
Yeah. As I interact with my children.
Right. My spouse.
I teach math.
Right. Oh, that's too personal.
But you know, if you just go through my day,
right,
I'm going to walk humbly before God. So every time people look at me, they look at him.
Yes.
When they see me, they see him.
Yes.
And so when they see me, they see him. How do I do that?
Yes.
I do justice.
Yep.
And love mercy.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, that's how I reflect him.
And then I point to him when they ask, like, oh, that's amazing. I can't believe you forgave her. You're such a good woman. No, I was forgiven.
Right.
So I forgive.
Right. It's more than just my actions. My words have to point that back. But wow.
Right. So what does the Lord your God require of you, O listener? Do justly, love chesed, walk humbly with your God. That's all.
Yeah.
So simple, isn't it?
So simple. That's why, but that's why we're in community.
Yes.
That's why we need to do Bible study, do life together.
Right.
because you have to have that one or two people, that small group that you go, hey, look,
I need help.
I need prayers to
Right.
do this. I really feel like God's calling me to
Right.
do X, Y, and Z, and on my own I can't do it.
Right.
And I'm going to need people propping me up, being that Aaron and her
to Moses.
to Moses, propping me up. Because again, we're trying to reflect who God is, but we're not meant to do it alone.
Right. We need accountability.
Mm-hmm.
We need encouragement, support. You're right. We need to prop each other up, because sometimes I'm the one that need help, and sometimes it's you.
Right. And when and going back to the valley of the shadow of death, if I can have, from last week, if I can have somebody walking alongside me with skin on,
Right.
sometimes I can do those.
Right.
You know what? Maybe you do need to forgive.
Right.
But don't try to forgive that person on your own. Get somebody else who's forgiven in a similar way, in a big way.
Yeah, that's really
so
good.
they can help you walk through that, because walking these hard roads alone, we're not meant to. We're supposed to have the guide, and we've always got God. We've always got Jesus. But sometimes I want somebody with skin.
Right. And that's why God gives us people with skin.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah,
Erika,
really
I've
good.
enjoyed your 2 retreat
Thank you. Thanks for letting me
messages.
share.
Yes.
It's nice to reuse it and be reminded myself.
I know, and I didn't get the privilege of hearing you in November.
Nope.
So it's nice to also share and go, hey, here's how Erika's retreat messages sound.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
this
true.
is a good way to get a flavor of Erika. If you get just Erika without me, what do you get?
Right. Yeah, that's
you
true.
get a lot.
Right.
And so if you help your church do retreats, if you're looking for a retreat speaker, Erika is available.
Yeah.
She has pretty much an open calendar. I'll just say that now.
Yeah, sometimes.
She can,
kids.
with enough time
Yes.
and practice,
Yep. Yep. True.
planning, Erika
Yes.
can make.
I am very open with enough time.
Yes. So if you would like, and she's willing to fly.
Yeah.
We've already said that, Connecticut to Alaska.
Right.
She's done it. So if you would like Erika, reach out to her on her website, erikavanheidsma.com. You can also read kind of reviews. I can't think of the right word. You've had some people on your...
Oh, it's on the website.
It's on your website. So if you want to see what the retreats Erika has done, what the leadership said about her, you can go there and read it. Yeah. If you just want to read about Erika, see what other people say about her. So those are there. But as always, share this podcast. If you can go to iTunes and rate and review,
That'd
it
be
helps
helpful.
us just bump up. It helps get our name out there so that we can share this message with more people.
Right. So we can all do justly, love
Right.
mercy, and walk humbly. Let's get a community that does this.
That would be amazing.
Right.
I think we're kind of waiting for that resurrection day, though.
Oh, yeah.
For it to
probably.
really happen.
But we can at least start.
Yes. But thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.